is, are you ready?
What do you guys want to talk about?
Let me talk to you. Yeah.
Throwdown Nation, what is going on? We are live. It is a Wednesday night. We are rolling on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter /X, Facebook, and Twitch. It is a rescheduled episode 202 of the Throwdown, where we celebrate the art and sport of professional wrestling with a strong focus on the indies. I'm your host, Matt, and today is going to be fun. We are throwing down with a Central Florida-based wrestler, training and competing out of the House of Champions in Orlando. Actually, the very first HOC champion back when that became a thing. My friends, I give you Berrako. How you doing tonight?
How you doing? I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, man. I've been looking forward to this. You know, I have said it before, and I will say it every time. You know, you guys have something very special going on down at the Hawk. You know, everybody that I have had on from who has any association with that school carries themselves so well and represents themselves and the school at such a level. You guys really have something amazing happening down there.
I appreciate that. Everywhere we go, no matter, you know, if it's even at the supermarket or if we're just walking around the neighborhood, we're always preaching greatness and excellence. That's not just banners that we have around our school. That's our motto.
Absolutely. And for those of you watching live, let me direct your attention to the ticker that's running on the bottom of the screen. That contains all or at least most of Berrako's social media accounts along with mine. So do us a favor, if you aren't a follower or a subscriber, take the time and go to each of the platforms and do so. It definitely helps both of us.
I appreciate everybody.
Not a problem, man. And any questions or comments you guys have, just throw them in the chat, and we'll either handle them as we go or do a little Q&A at the end. So we'll go ahead and kind of get started with the first and really the most obvious question, and that is, how long have you been wrestling?
I've been training since beginning of August, end of July, around that time of 2023, all the way until currently now. Yeah, so about, I want to say two and some change.
Yeah,
almost
about 2.5
years.
Yeah, coming up on 2.5 years. So have you been trained strictly at House of Champions, or have you trained elsewhere as well?
I've only ever trained at the House of Champions.
Gotcha. So in the early stages of your training, what would you say was the most challenging aspect of professional wrestling for you to kind of wrap your mind and body around?
I think not so much wrapping my body, but not wrapping my mind, but wrapping my body around would have to be just the simplest things like a front roll or like a right arm roll, left arm roll, just because I came from doing a bodybuilding style like lifting. So I was always lifting for strength and always for size. And my body wasn't as flexible as it is now. You know,
Gotcha.
it's not perfectly flexible, but it's a lot more flexible than it was when I first started. But it was just even something as simple as that, to where like I would get a cramp on my upper thigh because like my muscles were like, we don't do this, man. We don't move this type of way. Like, what are you doing? So that was the first plateau that kind of really like, you know, how am I going to get through this?
Right, right. So, did you come to you mentioned that you came from kind of a weightlifting background, but did you come to wrestling with any other type of athletic or martial arts type of background prior to professional wrestling? Had you done other sports, that kind of thing?
In high school, I did weightlifting and I did football. And then
Okay.
after, I kind of just started picking up kind of like a weightlifting style, and then it would change over to like a bodybuilding style training. But I mean, I've always played sports for fun after that as well. You know, anytime I could get my hands on a basketball, just, you know, or a football, like it just kind of just hand in hand there. You know, I've always loved playing sports, not so much watching them. It's kind of hard for me to sit down and watch them, but if I'm in the game, I mean, I could definitely like, you know, I could play for always fun for sport.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, I'm presuming, because that's been the typical answer with the majority of people I've had on the show, but I'm presuming that you've been at least a fan of professional wrestling the majority of your life. Is that pretty accurate?
Oh, since I was 8 years old.
Gotcha, gotcha. Do you happen to remember what your earliest wrestling related memory is?
My earliest related memory would be, I remember watching Monday Night Raw, and that was when it was after WrestleMania 21 back in 2005. Batista had just won the World Heavyweight Championship, and I remember seeing him, like he was one of the first superstars that I saw come out, and he had the big gold World Championship, and I just thought this guy was just so huge, so big. I'm like, there's no way anyone's gonna be able to take this from him, you know, like. And then that's just my earliest memory of like, you know, just being amazed by it. I was like, I got to get invested. I got to see what's going to happen here. And then he was my first favorite superstar.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I've been a fan since I was around 11, and I'm 56 now. And my first exposure to professional wrestling was actually as a kid in Central Florida, watching the old Florida Championship Wrestling back in the early 80s with Gordon Soley doing commentary. And
Okay.
the first feud I got invested in was Dusty Rhodes and Kevin Sullivan. And when you're 11 years old, man, Kevin Sullivan was a scary dude.
Right.
I mean, because he had the whole satanic gimmick going on at the time, and it was.
I do love watching some Dusty Rhodes. He's very charismatic.
Oh, for
Definitely.
sure, for sure, for sure. So, what was the first live show you attended as a fan?
I remember my mom, I stay in Kissimmee, Florida. It's just a little bit south of Orlando, a little bit more north of, not so much, but slightly north of St. Cloud. There's an arena here down 192 called the Silver Spurs Arena. I remember in 2005 they were doing just a tour, and they just happened to be coming right through the Silver Spurs Arena. So everybody in Kissimmee went to the show. That was my first live experience. I remember seeing the main event was John Cena versus Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle in a triple threat match for the WWE Championship.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
that's very cool, very cool.
But the guy that took it away from me, honestly, was I was a big Matt Hardy fan when I started really investing months into watching wrestling. I was really big into Matt Hardy, so being able to see him live was super duper cool.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. So tell us a bit about your current gym routine, and in your mind, what would be the most crucial exercise or group of exercises that you do to keep yourself in ring shape?
So when I first started, I always thought it was something where, you know, I grew up watching the Ruthless Aggression era. So this is like guys like Triple H, Brock
Oh, yeah.
Lesnar, Batista. These are like big men. So I thought that's what always a superstar should look like. And then, I started to realize the game is changing to a point where we do have big competitors still, but now they're more athletic, they're more agile, they're quick,
Yep.
So over the past 2 years, I've had to change more of my powerlifting and like trying to get as much weight up as possible versus why not try cutting this in half and let me see how many reps I can go for. Let me build my endurance, let me make sure my cardio is more on point. That way, some people think running a 10-minute match isn't that serious, but when you're in there for 2 minutes, you'll definitely feel it, constantly strike after strike, move after move. A minute is just, it feels like 5.
Absolutely. And, it's kind of funny that you brought that up because, when I was of the age that I could have considered going into the business, it was still very much the land of the giants. And I'm a comparatively small guy. So, it's been interesting as the game has evolved over the years and being able to see the smaller, really athletic guys really making a go of it and doing well in the business. I feel like I live vicariously, through the Rey Mysterios and the Adam Coles, and it does my heart good to see the smaller, really athletic guys out there doing it now. So
I do like seeing the more athletic competitors do have a giant personality. They're those are the larger than life ones, like how you said Adam Cole. From NXT, he would definitely be one of my favorites.
Oh, for sure. And man, I am hoping that he's going to be able to make a comeback, but I'm glad he's taken the time to deal with these repeated concussions and everything. Because ultimately, your health is all you got. So, but I'm, definitely keeping Adam Cole in my prayers, man. Because, yep. So
definitely on that dream list bucket.
Oh, for sure. So, I actually had a question submitted to me by someone for this particular episode. Okay. Somebody wants to know, who is your favorite beginner level student who has joined the HOC in the last few months?
I don't like to be biased. I think everybody, especially at the HOC, is very, very passionate. I'll use that word. They're very, very passionate. They're very committed to their craft.
Mm-hmm.
There are always going to be a lot of standouts. There's always going to be people that catch your eye. Somebody that I've seen that is moving very progressively is, I will definitely give it to the kids camp people. Brenna and Gavin, they've been definitely stepping it up, definitely putting themselves out there forward and really like showing that they want to be at the level where the intermediate and advanced are.
Absolutely. And this person also wanted me to be sure to make mention of your spear and the ladder match from last Thursday's show.
I appreciate that. I hope Mo's doing good, but hey, man, it was for a champion's contract. We got to do whatever we got to do to get that contract.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, interestingly enough, Mo Malik was my very first HOC guest on the show, and it all just kind of went from there. I had him, right. And then I had Ennis shortly after that, and
man, Ennis, my God,
that
guy,
old Flex.
Sheesh.
So, away from wrestling, what are some of your other hobbies and interests? What do you like to do?
Honestly, I always enjoy working out. The older I've gotten, I've tried to, do things by myself to see what I can really find accustomed. I do like watching, a lot of Marvel or DC. Like trying to catch up with the shows, I try to read the comic books, but there's just so many by so many different writers. It's like
I know.
It's so a vast majority. It's just sometimes overwhelming.
It
I
is.
try to play video games. Sometimes, like my attention span, excuse me, it has to be really, really like interesting to catch my attention. But, the older I get, it's just something where even just taking long walks to, like nature trails or even just kind of going somewhere where I can just go for a run, put my headphones on. So stuff
Yeah.
like that's very calming and peaceful to me.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, we're mostly a wrestling related show, but we do dabble a little bit into pop culture. And you were
Hmm.
kind of mentioning the Marvel stuff.
Hmm.
I'm always looking for recommendations. By any chance, are you watching or listening to anything cool right now? Recently, anything cool you want to shout out?
I would like to shout out Wonder Man. It just came out on Disney Plus from Marvel.
Is it
It's
good?
Yeah, I actually like that. It took a little bit in the beginning to really like, kind of get pulled into it, but by the second episode, it really started to catch my attention. Like, okay, like this is something different. And that's what I've always liked about Marvel. Like, I wish again, I'm actually a lot more bigger on the DC heroes, but
Hmm.
Marvel just has better ways of producing movies.
They do.
But
Yeah.
yeah, if we're talking like actual comic book characters, I'm very big on like the Bat family and stuff like that. I really love like the Flash, Superman, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm actually really intrigued now that they've given the DC keys to the kingdom to James Gunn.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
interested to see what's going to happen with the DC universe now, because
Right.
that guy has an incredibly creative mind, and
I
I'm excited.
I saw Superman last year. It was really good. And then I
Yeah.
saw no, sorry, I didn't see it. I'm going to see Supergirl this summer. That one's a
Hmm.
big one I'm looking forward to. Honestly, just because, this was like a dream cast for everybody. We
Yep.
we're finally gonna get to see Jason Momoa as Lobo. And I think we've
Yeah.
waited way too long for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, another outside of wrestling question, and that is, what person inspires you the most and why?
I think I would have to say my dad. My mom and my
Hmm.
dad both would inspire me. Um, my mom would always inspire me to be such a kind and humble person, no matter what life throws at you. Sometimes, you can always get things thrown at you from curveballs to, straight balls to fastballs. And you always have to know how to swing and you always have to know to have a good attitude about it. And then as far as from my dad's side, just always being the type to be very firm and be very assertive, yet
Hmm.
always be gentle.
For sure. For sure.
Mhm.
So, are you originally from Central Florida, or did you come from elsewhere? What is your hometown?
I'm originally from Newark, New Jersey, and
Okay.
I moved over here to first Melbourne when I was the Melbourne area when I was about seven, about six,
Hmm.
7 years old,
Yeah.
and then ended up going to Claremont, then to Orlando, and then to Kissimmee, and then yeah. But I've been in Florida ever since. So
Gotcha. You said you kind of started off in Melbourne. When I was a kid, I lived in Satellite Beach for about 7 years, so
mhm.
not too far from Melbourne. So
Yeah, not too far at all.
so what would you say is your favorite thing about Central Florida?
Honestly, the theme parks. I've
Hmm.
traveled to I haven't been all over the place, but I've been to North Carolina, I've been to Illinois, I've been to Tennessee, and honestly, there's just nothing like being able to just be in the Central Florida area and knowing you have Disney, you have Universal, and yet they're both expanding, always adding more to the parks, water
Oh
parks,
yeah.
you know. So I
Oh,
think
for
that's
sure.
that's the best thing about Central Florida, being able to have all these amusement parks.
Absolutely. So, they say that the best wrestling personas are usually yourself turned up to 1,000. So
Mhm.
tell us about in-ring Berrako and kind of compare and contrast him with everyday you.
Right. So everyday me, I can say that I'm usually pretty calm. I'm very pretty quiet. I'm not somebody that to shy away from a conversation. I'm just a very short-spoken kind of guy. But as far as to the in-ring type of ability, turning it up to 10 is almost at first was a very, very challenge because like I've had so much you build up emotions like all the time, and then growing up as a young man you never truly know how to deal with them. So in the
Right.
ring, that was one thing that I could really like thanks. I want to give a big shout out to Keikoa and Jamie Stanley, Nick Stuber.
Mm-hmm.
They both
Yeah.
really taught me how to harness that in the ring and let out those emotions that you've always felt in the ring, to better your character and to better yourself as a competitor. So I really, really applaud them for being patient with me, and helping me expose myself to, being able to be Berrako in the ring.
Absolutely. So, if you can narrow it down, over the time that you've been doing this, what is your favorite match that you have been a part of?
Uh, Everything, honestly, I always like everything that I do at the HOC. Um, this past ladder match was definitely a fun one. That one was definitely something new, something different. Um, the legacy match is something unique, something that only the Hawk does. So that's kind of something that we really like. It's always cool to be a part of that. We've had two of them already, and I've been in both of them. Um, but as far as a one-on-one match, as far as being able to share the ring with somebody, there's always a lot of great competitors, but I feel like me and BBP, Big Boy Patty, we
Oh
definitely
yeah.
have a kind of chemistry in the ring where it's very hard hitting, aggressive, kind of like an earlier Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yep. So, I'm presuming that you've had the opportunity to kind of be on both sides of the aisle, so to speak. But do you have a preference yourself between working heel or baby? And
Uh,
or is it just whatever the situation calls for?
I love being a heel. I love it. I love it. I love it so much that sometimes I mess around with coworkers at work and stuff like that. They know me. I'm always in my heel role, even at work, and they all love it. They all love it.
Gotcha. So, you've been doing this long enough that I'm sure you've developed a few of these, but what would you say is your biggest wrestling related pet peeve?
I don't really have any pet peeves. I'm pretty easygoing. I'm pretty fluid with a lot of things. Honestly, for that question, I haven't really found anything that really bothered me as far as
Well,
like,
that's
I mean,
good.
yeah, I hope I never run into, I guess, maybe somebody with bad body odor, but I haven't ran into that. So, but as far as pet peeves, no, I don't really have any.
Good. So, if you could only be one, would you rather be great in the ring or great on the mic?
I would love to be great on the mic. I feel like, especially now in today's era, and a matter of fact, for any era, um, the most charismatic superstars are the ones that can get it done on the mic. And when it
Right.
comes to promos, I've always been a really big fan of John Cena, CM Punk. Those are like my two top guys from the Ruthless Aggression era going into that newer era. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. So, do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? Is there a match that just speaks to you that you find yourself, circling back to from time to time,
Mm.
and it's like comfort food. It never really gets old, and you just kind of find yourself, do you have a match that has a special place in your heart?
WrestleMania 23, John Cena versus Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship.
Oh
Just
yeah.
because WrestleMania 23 was, I started watching wrestling a little bit after WrestleMania 21, and
Hmm.
then WrestleMania 23 was the first pay-per-view that my parents, sorry, not the first pay-per-view, but the first WrestleMania my parents ordered on pay-per-view. So I remember
Hmm.
sitting in front of the TV and just really just watching that, you know what I mean? Like it's just like
Oh
as a
yeah.
kid watching your first WrestleMania is just something magical, you know?
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, sort of piggybacking onto that question, do you have a favorite promo as a fan? Is there a promo that resonated with you that you just really appreciated?
Mhm. Um, a promo right off the top of my head. As far as a superstar cutting something in the ring,
Yeah, or wherever,
um, oh man, there's just so many.
Oh, I know.
The
It's
one that
not an easy question.
the one that gets talked about especially the most that always kind of really I circle back around, especially me being a heel, most of my career. You got to go with the CM Punk pipe bomb. That I
Oh, for
remember
sure.
watching
Yeah.
that as a kid, and I just that was one of the first ones where I literally sat in front of the TV and I was like, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know if this was real or not. And it really that was my first time feeling confused. Like, is he allowed to say some of this? Like, you know?
Yeah. And moments like that where the lines get blurred, that's where the magic happens.
Right.
Absolutely. So this is entirely an opinion question,
Right.
and this is one of these questions that can really probably change day to day and week to week. But at this moment, in your opinion, who are the best male and best female wrestlers in the world? Who's the best man and who's the best woman right at this moment?
Right at this very moment, I would have
Yeah.
to give the best male competitor, in my opinion, would have to be actively still wrestling. I'd have to give it to Seth Rollins. I got to give it to Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins
I
just does things.
can't argue that, man.
He's actively. It would have to be Seth Rollins, and then for women's competitors, I'm always gonna have to give it to Charlotte Flair. Charlotte just knows she knows her opponent. She knows her ring. Like every time she's in that ring, she knows exactly what she's doing. Like she owns it.
Yep, can't argue that either. So, and this can be past or present. Who would be a dream opponent for you? Who would you love to have the opportunity to share a ring with?
I mean, I've had a talk with a few of the people from the HOC about this, and I believe I've talked to my coaches about this. I might be crazy, I might be insane, but I think somebody that I would really love to share the ring with, just because I know I would learn so much. I would love to share the ring with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, when you started your response, before you said the name, I was like, he's about to say Brock.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's just always been something about Brock. Like when I watched him, everybody can always say, he doesn't wrestle that much. He wrestles a few times a year. So what? Whatever. He was a horrible champion. But it's like when he stepped into that ring, he owned it, and you knew it was his. Like all eyes were on him. No matter
Oh
what
yeah,
building he was in, he automatically had the entire crowd's attention. No matter where he was babyface, heel. No matter who the
yep,
competitor was. Yeah.
yep. Every few months, I still go back and watch his debut. Just because I feel so bad for Spike Dudley. I mean, that poor man. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, Spike loved that kind of thing. He was basically a
Right.
like a human crash test dummy. But but
Right.
wow. Yep, yep,
I
yep.
remember seeing that the F5 for the first time. I remember I heard Maven talking about it where that was the first time Brock had ever done an F5. And Maven was
Mm-hmm.
like, what do you, like, what do you want me to do? He's like, you do nothing. Don't do anything. I'll do all the work. And I'm just like, imagine being that type of man. Like, you don't have to do nothing. I'll get you over.
Yeah. Yep, yep, yep. So, do you have, well, in the time you've been doing this, you probably have found some people that you have great in-ring chemistry with, and when you're working that person, it's going to
Mhm.
be it's going to be a banger, and magic is going to happen. Do you have such a person?
Uh, as far as such a person, more like a few people. I tend to have a fluid chemistry with. I remember me and Coach K, K Koa, when we
Mm-hmm.
had our first
Yeah.
match. That was something we kind of really like flowed really really well. Me and Mo, it took a little bit, but me and him definitely flow very very well. Me and Patty definitely flow very very well. Those are the three names that come to my mind right now, just because you know, uh, in the role that I've been in as a heel, there wasn't too many baby faces that I could face at the time. At that point, we were still a growing school, so we only
Right.
had certain amount of competitors. But I mean, the possibilities are endless. I faced
Oh, for
GMJ
sure.
as well, and he's somebody he's very very crafty, very very crafty. Like he can take anything and turn it into something great.
Yep. Yep. So, what is your favorite move? What is something you just really enjoy doing? And on the flip side of that, is there a move that you either won't do or you would rather not do, and that can be giving or receiving?
Giving or receiving a move that I would not like to take. Um, I'd rather not take a back body drop. I would like. I know how to do one. I know how to perfect it. It's just something about me being so high up into the air. I don't really.
Yeah.
I don't like getting thrown up like that. But you know, I can take one. I'd rather not. A move that I love to give is I like to give a good old, passed over from Arn Anderson to Triple H, good old spine buster.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Man, nobody could do the spine buster like Arn. I
Mhm.
mean, as far as I'm concerned, nobody will ever surpass him as the king of the spine buster. Man,
Right.
he was unreal.
That's actually where I got the inspo for the spine buster. I grew up watching Triple H do it, but I remember my
Hmm.
coach was telling me like, "Hey, you need to go watch the way Arn Anderson did his."
Yep. 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 So, you've been doing this long enough that I'm sure this applies to one degree or another. So I'll ask you, what hurts right now?
As far as body wise, nothing. As far as emotional
Awesome.
wise, nothing. I'm physically okay. I'm mentally okay. I'm emotionally okay. Visually okay. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better health.
Man, that's awesome. That is definitely good to hear. Uh,
Right.
so, what would you say is the worst bump you have taken during your time doing this?
The worst bump I've taken before I learned how to actually take that bump was a scorpion death drop, a reverse DDT.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was something I didn't enjoy taking at first, but because I didn't enjoy taking it and I wanted to learn how to do it properly, or take it properly.
Got you. Got you. So, what is your take on the role that social media is playing as a promotional tool in wrestling, specifically indie wrestling?
Oh, we wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for it. We wouldn't be right now doing this podcast, this interview. We wouldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't for social media. And I think a lot of indie wrestlers, I would say they need to post more, as Mama HOC always tells us at the HOC. You know, Renee,
Yep.
shout out to
Oh
you.
yeah.
Post all the time. Post, 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 post. You know, whether it's a story, whether it's a small post, you know, something on your TikTok, your Instagram. You know, if you have a YouTube, do a YouTube. If you have Snapchat, X, take all these platforms and use them. You know, this is our resume. You know, we've come
Yep.
to an era where it's like now a lot of the things that we do, it's not just always going to be on pencil and paper anymore. You know, it's the power of the camera phone. You know,
Right.
everything we post, it's like I always take this quote from a movie that came out 2006. It was called Never Back Down.
Mm-hmm.
There was a quote in that movie. It says, one person posts it, the whole world sees it. And it's always a powerful thing to hear that, because it's the truth. You know, that's how superstars today, a prime example, Joe Hendry got the push that
Yep.
he got, you know, just
Yep.
it's social media is just so powerful.
Yep. Man, Joe Hendry really cracked the code in going viral. Too.
Yeah.
I mean, yep.
Even Zack
So-
Ryder, you know, being the first internet
yeah.
champion.
Yep, for sure. So, knowing everything you know at this point in your life, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I would tell my younger self to be patient. I would tell my younger self to be patient and to take a deep breath every now and then, to really understand that I believe God always has a plan, and
Yep.
everything is going to fall into place exactly the way that it needs to. You need to learn to cherish the bad and cherish the good, and understand that the good are going to give you happy moments, and the bad are just going to give you lessons to learn from. And
Yep.
once you have that in your brain, then I mean, I can't see you losing at all, you know. But the number one thing would be definitely tell my younger self, just have more patience and have more compassion.
Got you. So, do you have any pre-show traditions? Any things that you try to do consistently before you walk through the curtain?
Oh yeah, I try to get a pump. Always. Always trying to pick up some weights, always trying to look good when I go out there. But also the older I get, always try to, I say the older I get, like I'm so old, but I'm only 29, but you know, I just try to keep this longevity going to where, you know, make sure you stretch, you know, make sure you're always, I keep a resistance band in my bag. Thanks to Mo. Thanks, Mo. Always make sure that you're liquidated, you know, everything is fluid. Because once you get in that ring, you gotta get ready to move. You know, you gotta be able to do what you gotta do. So always making sure to stretch and get a nice pump before you go out there.
Got you. So, just kind of a quick rundown. What all do you carry in your gear bag, and do you carry anything unique or unusual in your gear?
Nothing unusual or in my gear bag. I always have my gear, my trunks, 2 sets of knee pads, 2 sets of elbow pads, 2 different color wrist tape, my wrestling boots. I'll always have 2 different shirts, my Berrako product shirts. I always carry a pair of track pants, a pair of I always tell myself always be ready for everything. So I have clothes in there if I need to cut a promo. I have clothes in there if I need to have a brawl, or I have clothes in there if I'm going to have a match. So always want to make sure you're ready for anything. You know, Nick,
Oh, for sure.
Jamie Stanley, Nick Stuber always passed me the athlete's Bible. And I usually always carry that in my bag. I carry this every show wherever I go. My resistance band, and just a pair of Beats headphones that I never really use because I'm so busy always trying to make sure I, you know, get with my opponents, make sure we run through this match and everything. So,
Gotcha. So, you know, over the time that you've been doing this, have you found that you have a favorite venue to wrestle in, or are all the venues kind of the same to you, or is there one that's kind of special?
I love wrestling at the HOC. I love wrestling at the HOC. I've been to some very great crowds. I've been to some crowds in Tennessee where they do get very wild out there. They definitely love some good old fashioned wrestling. But there's just something special about being at the HOC, and like the fact that that fan base grew with us. So they got
Yep.
to watch us grow, and at the same time we got to watch them grow. So
Right.
it's
It's a
always a
very
give and take.
a very organic kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes. And those are the best.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So something that we've done in all of these that's just been kind of fun is we've let the current guest pose a question for the next guest. So a recent guest, a wrestler based out of California by the name of G4,
Oh
posed posed this question, and that is, would you ever wrestle barefoot?
yeah. I could if I definitely could, but I wouldn't want to though. I wouldn't want somebody stepping on my toes. So
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, since this is part of a series, do you have a question that you would like to ask to the next guest?
yeah. When are they gonna make their way to the HOC and have a match with Berrako?
Ah,
I'm gonna go ahead and issue that challenge to the next person you have on there.
okay. So, during his farewell tour, John Cena kept bringing up the concept of leaving wrestling better than you found it.
Mhm.
So, and I really thought that was a great approach to take. So, what are you doing? What difference are you trying to make in professional wrestling to eventually leave wrestling better than it was when you found it?
A difference I'm trying to make is, of course, always spread the motto of our school, greatness and excellence. Um, I just pretty much want to motivate the culture, everybody that is wants to be a wrestler but doesn't know how or is too afraid to just go and do it. I've had one gentleman come up to me. He's a dad of one of the kids at the kids camp, and he comes up to me and he's like, yo man, I really like what you're doing, being this Puerto Rican wrestler and like really inspiring the young Puerto Ricans out there who want to be wrestler. And it's always good to hear stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's always going to go back to the culture where like I want all races to join wrestling, but I know that, me being Puerto Rican and Peruvian, the Puerto Ricans are always going to look at me as like, okay, like we got another one that's going up there wanting to make a name for himself. Like, let's try to follow behind him, and it's always something to where I just, hope that if they do follow behind me, if they're a heel, I give them some great heel work to work with. But other than that, just making sure that I spread greatness and excellence in everything that I do.
Gotcha. So we're getting toward the end of things now. So do you have any upcoming shows or anything at all that you'd like to give some hype to?
Yeah, let's do March 19th, HOC Supremacy. That's definitely going to be one you're going to want to look at. For those of you that didn't catch the February show, it should be out later this week. You can go ahead and watch the end of that ladder match, and then you're going to find out why certain handful of people, a little bit of a whatever this is, got a big problem on their hands. And you're going to find out how I handle that March 19th.
Gotcha. So as far as what we've got coming up on the Throwdown, next Monday, the 2nd of March, I can't believe we're getting into March already. 7 p.m. Eastern. We've got episode 205, and our guest is a Texas and South Carolina-based wrestler by the name of Elia Lopez. And then on Thursday, March the 5th, next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we've got episode 207 with our guest from out of Norse legend, Phineas' son. Looks like... Hey, you're back.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
Well, anyway, I was just actually showing what we've got coming up here. Let me go back.
I apologize. I really.
Oh, no problem. No problem, man. Well, that's you. Okay. So anyway, next Tuesday, or no, I'm sorry, next Monday, March 2nd, and I was just commenting, I can't believe that we're actually fixing to get into March already. But 7 p.m. Eastern, we've got episode 205, and our guest is a Texas and South Carolina-based wrestler by the name of Elia Lopez. So he's the one I'll be asking when he's coming to the HOC to tangle with you.
Hey, I'm always ready. I'm always ready.
And then next Thursday, the 5th of March, 7 p.m. Eastern, episode 207 with our guest from out of Norse legend, Phineas' son, who is, he actually has a match coming up in One Division Pro out in California, actually wrestling Roachy Roach, who is the One Division Pro champion, actually at Chris Page's show that he's doing out there in March the 19th, I believe.
Okay.
And so before we wrap all of this up, the last thing I want to do with you is do a real quick run through the Elimination Chamber card and get your predictions as to what you think's gonna take place here. So, I've sort of put the matches in an order that seems logical and likely because they haven't, as far as I know anyway, released the match order.
Right.
But starting with the women's Elimination Chamber match, you've got Alexa Bliss versus Rhea Ripley versus Tiffany Stratton versus Kiana James versus Asuka versus Raquel Rodriguez. Who you got?
I know Kiana James is definitely somebody on the come up. She's definitely somebody that's got a good flow to her, and she's got a bright future ahead of her. Tiffany Stratton is definitely going to be. She's running hot right now. This is just coming off a women's championship, defending against Charlotte Flair at last year's WrestleMania. But again, I'm always going to have to always go with the Eradicator. I'm always going to go with Rhea Ripley.
Yeah. I'm actually hoping for Rhea because I would love to see her mix it up with Jade Cargill.
Yes.
I mean, I think those two could potentially tear the house down.
I would have loved to see Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill. That's on a dream list for me that I would love to see at a WrestleMania.
Yeah, hopefully that's coming, but apparently she is still having problems after her I guess thumb surgery. She's that. So.
Well, I wish her the best, man. She got to get here to give us this dream match.
Oh, for sure. So, and then we've got the Women's Intercontinental Championship, Becky Lynch and AJ Lee. I mean, my hunch here, I think Becky retains, and they somehow extend this to Mania with possibly a gimmicked match there maybe Hell in a Cell or something. But what do you think? Who you got?
I'm always gonna have to go with the bad girls. I'm always gonna have to go with the Fire Red Becky Lynch. I'm gonna have to go with the man.
Can't argue that. And then we've got the World Heavyweight Championship, CM Punk and Finn Balor. And, you know, in my mind, this is actually probably the most predictable outcome on the card. I mean, much as I would love to see Finn win this and get a run with the belt, WWE seems dead set on Punk versus Roman at Mania. So I'm not holding out a lot of hope for Finn, but I've got a soft spot in my heart for the guy. You know, I feel like after that injury a number of years ago where he had to relinquish the belt, I feel like circumstances have just never really gone his way since then. So.
Right. Yeah, that was such an awesome championship for him to be the first Universal Champion.
I know.
I would have loved to see where he would have taken that belt and how he would have elevated it.
Right. Right.
But as far as these two in the ring, I mean, it's no doubt they're going to give us a banger. As much as I would love to see Finn Balor reclaim a world championship, after Roman Reigns promo that he cut on CM Punk, I gotta see Roman versus Punk in the main event now. You know, that's the WrestleMania main.
Yep. And then the men's elimination chamber. Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes versus LA Knight versus Jey Uso versus Javon Evans versus Trick Williams. What you got?
I'm again, like Javon Evans, he's come to the HOC. You know, we've had training sessions together, and that boy is truthfully bouncy.
Yes.
He is definitely on his way to being, you know, one of the greats in WWE. You know, this is a very stacked card.
It is.
I'm very, very big on, I believe it's his time. He needs to shine. He needs to have this moment. I'm gonna give it to LA Knight. I'm really big on LA Knight.
Yeah, you know, to me, this is a weird one because there's rumors going around that LA Knight is getting fed to Brock Lesnar at Mania. And if that's the case, then, you know, LA Knight's not winning this. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like Cody and Randy Orton are likely going to cancel each other out. So it really kind of leaves, like you said, Javon Evans, Trick Williams, and Jey Uso. And apparently Jey Uso is just in there because Bronson Reed got hurt the other night. And so, you know, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't, like you were saying, I wouldn't mind seeing Javon Evans win it, but at the same time, though, it almost feels like it might still be a little too soon. But who knows? You know?
Yeah, I mean,
it's always fun trying to guess what the bookers are going to do.
Right. I mean, just seeing that story. I mean, you know, I think Javon and Drew can definitely push us all the way to Mania, and they can definitely give us a great one, you know?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'd love to see it.
Javon definitely had his fair share of big men, especially Oba.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My wife just commented over in the Instagram chat. She's an LA Knight mark, so she's she's hoping for good things from him. You know, I'm hoping the rumors aren't true and he's not getting fed to Brock, but you know, who knows?
I think it should be. I think they should give that to Gunther. I feel like Gunther is in a pretty good spot, so where him and Brock could definitely be a great one.
For sure. Well, we've like I said, we're pretty much at the end of things now. So for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be seeing this on replays and such, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, definitely do the old like, comment, share, and subscribe. And before we wrap this up, do you have any final words for the audience?
Yeah, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, or we're gonna have a big problem.
That'll work. And until next Monday night at 7 p.m. with Elia Lopez, be good to each other.